who is in whose backyard here? Because you're the mayor and he's the president.
Well, he's in our backyard. 700,000 of us live here, pay taxes. We're tax-paying Americans, but we don't have full citizenship in Washington, D.C. because we're not a state. And what the whole nation saw this week is the federal government under just extreme in our view, the most extreme view of their role with the District of Columbia, decided that they were going to try to take over our police department, move the army from Fort Bragg to sit on our borders to threaten us. And what the whole world saw was use federal forces to move on American citizens who were protesting at the footsteps of the White House. So all of those things were wrong. And as Americans, we all have to be scared of what that means if we let the federal government treat American citizens that way.
I am a big fan of Bill Maher, and he has been extremely worried over a long period of time that Donald Trump is not going to accept this election if he loses. Are you concerned about that?
I'm very concerned about it, Harvey, but it's not even a dog whistle. I mean, he's shouting it out. His very first tweet attacking me said something to the effect that we are going to release vicious dogs and ominous weapons on protesters. That was his very first tweet. That, in my view, was the day and the moment he decided that he was going to call in the military for this big show of force in an attempt to intimidate us and all Americans into doing exactly what he wanted them to do.
For some reason, Malcolm Gladwell popped into my head. In his book, Outliers, he wrote about Korean Airlines having a lot of crashes. And there was a problem in these cockpits because the co-pilots were being deferential to pilots who were doing wrong things, but because of the culture of respecting your elders and being, acquiescing, they were having crashes. And then all of a sudden, they reset the culture in the cockpit. And the co-pilots started to speak up against the pilots when the pilots were doing things incorrectly, and the crashes stopped. Why can't the same blueprint be applied with police officers who watch their superiors cross the line?
I think that you're absolutely right. Our officers have a duty to intervene. Their oath is not to their fellow officers, it's to the public, it's to the Constitution, and it's to the laws of their individual states. And they have the duty to intervene. So if that's not part of a city or a state's law, it should be a part of their law and certainly the guidance to the officers.